Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
So while it remains unclear how Iran might retaliate against Australia specifically, or Australians, the regime has a long history of attempting to wage attacks against Jewish targets and Iranian dissidents around the world, and that continues to be a concern.
Welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief. I'm Adam Lucente. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced on Tuesday that Australia's intelligence services have concluded Iran was behind two recent attacks on Jewish institutions: the torching of the Lewis Continental Kitchen Kosher Cafe in Sydney last October, and the firebombing of the Adas Israel Synagogue in Melbourne the following December. As a result, Albanese said the Iranian ambassador must leave the country, adding that the government will legislate to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist group. Iranian officials denied involvement, and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi accused Australia of seeking to appease Israel with the move. The two arson attacks are part of a string of anti-Semitic incidents in the country since the Gaza war, and Australian officials said Iran is likely behind others. Australia's relations with Iran and Israel are both at a low, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently accused Albanese of, quote, abandoning the country's Jews. In this episode, we hear from Al Monitor's newsletter and content editor, Gabrielle Debinski. Gabrielle, who is from Australia, takes us through the importance of Iran-Australia ties, how the Islamic Republic might respond, whether Canberra's actions will improve relations with Israel, and the situation facing Jews in the country. Hope you enjoy. Gabrielle, welcome to the Al Monitor Brief.
Thanks for having me.
Gabrielle, what is the significance of the ambassador expulsion and Albanese's remarks for Australia-Iran ties? And how important is that relationship to both countries?
Well, ties between the two countries have been tense for a long time. Australia is a close ally of the United States and even part of the unique Five Eyes intelligence sharing group. Still, with all that, it is a significant move given that Australia hasn't expelled an ambassador since World War II. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said that today. And it's particularly important because there are still at least two Australians believed to be arbitrarily detained in Iran, and maintaining diplomatic ties is crucial to facilitating the sort of deals needed to get these sort of nationals released. I'm not sure if you remember, but in 2020, there was a really high-profile case of an academic named Kylie Moore-Gilbert, who was held arbitrarily in an Iranian prison. And her release was part of a really complex deal involving Iranian nationals held in Thailand. So that sort of thing is really hard to pull off if you don't have active diplomatic missions in each other's capitals.
Gabrielle, Israel-Australia ties are also at a low, with Prime Minister Netanyahu recently criticizing Australia's decision to soon recognize a Palestinian state. Do you think this move against Iran could help improve Australia-Israel relations at all?
I don't think this will have any bearing on Israel-Australia ties. The Australian government and intelligence community believes that Iran is encroaching on its state sovereignty by using gangs and other criminal networks to carry out attacks on Australian soil. And at the same time, the left-leaning Australian government will continue to pressure Israel to cease the war in Gaza and has said it intends to recognise a Palestinian state next month at the United Nations. And now that has infuriated the Israeli government, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has accused the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of being unwilling or unable to protect Australian Jews. So the relationship is really at a low point, and I think it will continue to deteriorate before it gets better.
And Gabrielle, how is this news of the Iranian ambassador's expulsion and the actions against the Iranian government being received in Australia's Jewish community?
Well, the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, an umbrella group, praised the government's conclusion of Iranian involvement in these attacks, as well as the decision to designate the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps a terror outfit. But at the same time, there is still a lot of fear and unease about the uptick in anti-Semitic violence in Australia since October 7, 2023. and swaths of the Jewish community have been criticizing the government for not appearing to do more to counter it. So the Executive Council actually logged 2,062 anti-Jewish incidents in the 12 months leading up to September last year, an increase of 316% from the 12-month period before that. So Australian Jews are really facing a difficult time at the moment.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Gabrielle Debinski after this short break.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al-Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al-Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25 for a discount.
Okay, we're back. Gabrielle, how might we expect Iran to respond to this move, both vis-a-vis Australia, but also with its external policy in general?
Well, it's important to note that Iran has denied involvement in these attacks and has accused the Australian government of trying to appease Israel. Australia, for its part, has already recalled its ambassador and closed the embassy in Tehran for safety reasons. So while it remains unclear how Iran might retaliate against Australia specifically or Australians, the regime has a long history of attempting to wage attacks against Jewish targets and Iranian dissidents around the world, and that continues to be a concern. But it could always increase its attacks against Australian personnel and institutions through cyber warfare activities, which we know the Iranian regime is very competent in. And as well, the regime could seek to arbitrarily detain Australian nationals around the world in order to regain some of the leverage it's lost through this incident.
Gabrielle, thanks a lot for your time, and we look forward to more of your work on this topic.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Al-Monitor Brief. Be sure to follow Al-Monitor for more on the stories impacting the Middle East. Until next time, I'm Adam Lucente.